He's got the LeBron James hype. The WNBA has never seen a superstar like Caitlin Clark.
They have all the health. It's almost like the finals should be almost an expectation.
Can the Pacers be a 50-win team?
They have these massive expectations, and the hope is that they can meet them with their 3 stars, because if they can't, what is next?
On today's episode of Get In Sports, we have a jam-packed show starting with the Chicago Bears moving to Indiana. What? Huh? Hammond, to be exact. The Bears making it official, voting on it, and it seems to be happening. So we'll, of course, get into that. The state of Indiana with 2 NFL franchises. Who would have thought? Certainly not me. Moving right along, sticking with NFL football, the Colts checking in with the quarterback situation. Daniel Jones injury progress, where he's at with his Achilles, seems to be on schedule, if not ahead of schedule, so certainly good news. On the other hand, Anthony Richardson, who was granted access and permission to seek a trade, his representation at OTAs, getting some work in and is in a battle for the backup quarterback job with Riley Leonard, so that's certainly an interesting situation as well. But the Indiana Fever stealing the show. Not even 10 games through the WNBA season. Oh, the drama in Indianapolis when it comes to the Indiana Fever. All sorts of fun here in Indianapolis as the summer has just begun. The calendar has turned to June, and here we go. I was at my brother and sister-in-law's house just a few days ago with my 2 very cute nieces, one of which is 3 years old, one of which is 9 months old. The 3-year-old, as we were all eating dinner, was very upset that she was not the center of attention. All of us adults were catching up about who knows what. And Mila said very loudly, "Everybody be quiet. I want to be in this conversation." So a couple minutes later, after we were looking at Mila, she said, "Wait a minute. Why is everybody looking at me?" I can think of no better comparison for the Indiana Fever. Dumbfounded that they are the center of conversation, but just seemingly in the news, headline after headline, day after day after day. Kind of started with Caitlin Clark a week or 2 ago, 90 minutes before tip, being scratched from the game. Obviously, fans who are in attendance not happy about it. A warning coming down from the WNBA. Look, you're going to hear Tony East, our guest today, talking about this in just a bit, and you should stick around for that. Tony East of Locked On Pacers is our guest on today's podcast. I would highly recommend you stick around for him because he is all things Pacers, all things Fever. But say you get out of the car on your way to the game and you twist your ankle, you're going to sit out that game. What if you break your foot on your way to the game 30 minutes before tip? There's some things that you can't control. If she's truly sore, if she truly has a back issue, there shouldn't be a problem. But the Fever getting a warning from the WNBA that she's sitting out, so that caused all sorts of drama. Obviously, the need for transparency is there, but again, if this was another player in the WNBA, it's not a story. But everything with Caitlin Clark is a story. For better or for worse, she's a superstar. She's got the LeBron James hype. On the court, off the court, everything. The WNBA has never seen a superstar like Caitlin Clark. She made the joke, "This is what I had for breakfast that day." She only informed her own mother a couple minutes before the press found out that she was going to miss that game. So that was a problem. And then the clip over the weekend, the Fever with a 2-game road trip out west, Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark barking at each other in the huddle. Stephanie White benches Caitlin Clark afterwards. I have zero problem with this, but I saw it and I thought to myself, okay, that's no big deal. And then just kept seeing it. Okay, this is all of a sudden going to become a story. I think we can all stand to be a little bit more normal about Caitlin Clark. Not everything she does is a story. I'm not quite sure why she and her coach can't have a lively, demonstrative back and forth without it becoming a story. Oh, how's the relationship with Stephanie White? Skip Bayless is tweeting that Stephanie White is fired. What is Stephanie White supposed to do in that situation? Be shown up by a player? I know it's Caitlin Clark, but she's supposed to allow that to happen. Stephanie White's a competitor. Stephanie White's had an unbelievable career herself. Stephanie White is the epitome of the state of Indiana, and she's the head coach of the Indiana Fever. You cannot let anybody, no matter if it's a superstar in the WNBA, no matter if it's the best player on the Indiana Fever, show you up in the middle of a huddle. By the way, you're down 20. By the way, Caitlin Clark got beat like a drum 4 possessions in a row on defense. I'd bench her too. I have zero problem with it. They obviously made up, but they're made to answer questions about their relationship. And, Stephanie White said, and you'll hear it here in just a second, I was challenging a player in that moment. And then Caitlin Clark has to answer, do you have a good relationship with Stephanie White, and about being a competitor? And it's just needless drama. And I think off the top, with my niece comparison, you can say I insinuated that the Fever are saying we want the attention on us, and then are dumbfounded that the attention is on them. But this is a matter of people just running with insane narratives, speaking for Caitlin Clark, inserting their own opinions, and just the news cycle in the summer. And there's not much going on. And Caitlin Clark is a story no matter what she does, but I think this needs to die down, and it just needs to be about the play on the floor.
Yeah, I was going to say, this whole situation with Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark actually reminds me a lot of when prime James Harden was playing in Houston. You have a super high caliber offensive player. No one's denying that Caitlin Clark, James Harden, both in their primes, amazing ball handlers, amazing playmakers, but what was the one thing that they both lacked? It's defense. And so when you have a person like this, whether they're an MVP level or someone that the fans are just going to continue to look at, as a coach, you have to do something about it. And to your point, yes, what is Stephanie White supposed to do when Caitlin Clark gets beat 4 possessions in a row? Any good coach would do the exact same thing. If you get beat and you continue to get beat, I'm going to bench you because, hell, we're already losing. I know that your offense is good, but offense is not going to save the whole game. And so this reminded me a ton of when Harden was in Houston. Obviously, we know that he can't guard hardly anything. We know he's a little bit of defensive liability again, but it reminded me a ton of Mike D'Antoni when he was in Houston. Obviously, knew what he was talking about, had been a very successful coach in his days. But again, to your point, big name, can't play defense, maybe a little bit of competitiveness, overreaction, but at the end of the day, what's the media going to do? They're going to try to make stories out of nothing. And so
100%. I have zero problem with the way Caitlin Clark handled it. I have a zero problem with the way Stephanie White handled it. I have a huge problem with how the media handled it, and particularly the national media. And then, Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White, the Monday following, are forced to comment on this. And who's in their sights? All of the Indianapolis media, who did not have any part in making this a story. But of course, they're going to be frustrated because the media is the media is the media. There's no question about that. But it's a really good bite. I want to put this in, and just her response to this whole situation.
I was challenging a player. It's coaching. It's what it is. I don't often think it becomes an issue if you're watching it in men's sports most of the time. And my relationship with Caitlin is great. Like, I love Caitlin. I ride with her. Like, we have a great relationship. And I think that the narrative of people trying to make it something that it's not is just, taking sensationalism to try to get some clicks and all the other stuff. She wants to be coached. I want her to help me be a better coach. We're both competitive. We're both stubborn. We're more alike than different. And hopefully we continue to bring the best out of each other.
Obviously, I have no problem. You can sense the frustration, and why wouldn't you be frustrated? Honestly, like you everything you do on the floor is scrutinized so heavily. If you have a bad game, it's a referendum on your entire career. If you have a good game, you're going to win 16 championships and be the best women's basketball player to ever walk the face of the planet. And then off the floor, you can be bothered by Caitlin Clark and the way she handles herself on the floor. I'm not saying she's perfect. She even said right there, I'm not perfect.
Yep.
And you're going to fall short when you're 24, 23 years old, and everyone is looking at you, and everything you do is under a magnifying glass. You can have a problem with the way she handles herself, but before you throw stones, put yourself in her shoes. I have been around this woman for her entire career here in Indianapolis, and the way she handles herself to the media, she never says anything problematic. She is forced to answer for other people's narratives.
Yep.
She is forced in positions to answer for things she never said. And she handles herself with grace, confidence, poise, all the good adjectives. So you can have a problem with the way she is on the floor. You cannot at all say that she does not handle herself with respect and dignity to the press when she has every reason to go off on the press at every single opportunity that she is given. I have an immense amount of respect for Caitlin Clark. Now, is she demonstrative on the court? Yeah, she's a competitor, and she's really, really, really good at basketball. So she's gonna get upset sometimes. But this whole thing, you try handling the media scrutiny that Caitlin Clark has had to handle her entire basketball career, and you tell me that you wouldn't be frustrated about it, and maybe sometimes it would boil over, especially in a situation when you're down 20 points and are having a not so great game.
As a player, you're already going to be mad at yourself if you're not playing to the level that you know you're supposed to. As a competitor, having a coach, kind of do that back and forth. I mean, can you imagine, mind you, Caitlin Clark is 24. If every single encounter that you had as a player, regardless of the sport, was highlighted and magnified to that level, I think the media can paint literally anybody in a bad picture like that. And it just so happens that Caitlin Clark, with the stardom that she has, every good thing that she's going to do is going to be magnified. But on the flip side, every small little infraction that might not be handled perfectly, media's going to take with it and run with it.
Exactly. It's like she has to be perfect in everything she does. And you know how frustrating that would get?
It's impossible.
And she still handles herself with such grace towards the media. She's set up to fail, and she refuses to fail. And that's what I respect most about Caitlin Clark. And at the end of the day, what will put all of this to bed is success on the floor. So a massive team victory, probably their best performance of the season against the Atlanta Dream. First matchup between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. I think that rivalry, quote unquote, has been kind of put to bed. I think Angel Reese found a great home in Atlanta, and I think the Fever are figuring themselves out. And there's not really time for this like arbitrary rivalry that everybody else concocted. I think that is put to bed completely. Atlanta Dream are a very good team. Came into the night 7-2. They got the big three of Ryan Howard, Angel Reese, Alicia Gray. They couldn't hit shots. But I thought the Fever's defensive intensity ramped up quite a bit. I mean, you saw Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White chest bump in the third quarter. They're both jacked up. They just want to win. Yeah. That's all this comes down to. They just want to win. Aaliyah Boston making three-pointers is fantastic. Kelsey Mitchell, 11 points in the third quarter. When she's hot, she's impossible to guard. I thought it was such a breath of fresh air. So my point is, what's going to put all this to bed is good performances on the floor. And Caitlin Clark, I think she was asked after the game, what does a performance like this do? And she goes, well, respectfully, hopefully makes everybody be quiet for like 10 seconds about the Indiana Fever. So look, it's a long season. I think if everyone just like takes a chill pill when it comes to Caitlin Clark, we're all going to be better off for it. It's not going to be a humongous situation. A big win for the Fever. I'd say the biggest matchup, biggest game this early in the season, first quarter of the season. And I'm excited about matchups with the Liberty and the Wings and the Dream and the Aces coming up this season. Should be a very fun summer. Hopefully everybody stays healthy, okay? That was the number one thing. But the Fever is still figuring each other out. And Tony East, again, stick around for our interview with Tony East. It's coming up very shortly. Talked about why it feels like teams that you would expect to be good in the WNBA have sputtered a bit off the start, and it just feels like a slow, maybe not all that great of quality of basketball at the start. He had a really interesting point about why that might be. So there's a deep tease for you. For Tony East coming up of Locked On Pacers, one of the best follows there is when it comes to Pacers and Fever basketball. All right, I want to transition to football here. We've had a chance to cover the Indianapolis Colts throughout OTAs out on West 56th Street, and I feel like, it's the offseason for National Football League and NFL football, but the Colts are in a precarious position, okay? We've already talked about how it feels like they got spare parts on defense. I mean, Kenny Moore requested a trade, then he was released. Zaire Franklin traded. You're hoping for the best with Latu. It's just an interesting situation. You let Nick Cross hit the road.
No first-round pick either.
No first-round pick, thanks to Sauce Gardner. I mean, thank goodness we got Sauce Gardner out here, for $30 million and 2 first-round picks later. Myles Garrett gets traded to the Los Angeles Rams, and on paper, a bit of a cheaper price than the Colts paid for Sauce Gardner. So, I'd love to have this job security of Chris Ballard one day, but we'll see how that plays out. But we're talking about the quarterback situation here, okay? December 6th, 2025, Daniel Jones goes down with a torn Achilles. Basically from the jump, reported that he expects to be ready to go by training camp. This is baffling to me. Yeah. For an Achilles, because training camp begins late July. I mean, that's 7 months, just over 7 months post Achilles tear. That is an aggressive timeline to be feeling good about yourself. But I go to OTAs last week, And who's sprinting after practice? Who's taking part in individual drills? Daniel Jones. And he looks good. He looks good doing it. So, I mean, look, if he says he's hitting all his marks, caught up with him, caught up with Shane Steichen. I asked Shane Steichen if he was on schedule. He said, yeah, he's out here. He's doing the stuff. He progressed and graduated to 7-on-7 drills, and they're going to hold him out of full team activities until training camp, which is obviously a smart move. He feels very confident that he's going to be ready for week 1. I mean, that's a guy you paid almost $50 million. Actually, I think it was $50 million.
It was $50 million.
To come back with a basic 10-game sample size that I just keep hearing about, how the Colts started 8-2. The Colts started 8-2. Who's to say that even if he's healthy, they still lose the last 7 games? I mean, it was trending that way. The Chiefs game was certainly not great. The game they won against Atlanta in Germany was not great. Like, thank God for Jonathan Taylor.
Thank God for Jonathan.
And Jonathan Taylor has gotten the most carries in the league last year. And, they worked him like, I don't know what, and they should have. He's the best player on their team. But it's going to be interesting. Michael Pittman Jr. hits the road. You pay Alec Pierce a bunch of money. Tyler Warren's back. Josh Downs is back. I don't know. I just don't know. They just seem to be in no man's land like they have been. And Daniel Jones, we're paying him an awful lot of money coming off an Achilles tear to be the savior here. I think he's really good. I think he's good inside Shane Steichen's system. But if you got 5 rookies starting on defense and an aging DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart, and a guy in Latu who hasn't proven himself very often, I don't know. I don't know if Daniel Jones can be the best guy on planet Earth, but I don't know if that's gonna. And their schedule, first 5 games. They could very easily start 1-4, 0-5, to no fault of their own. Even there's really good teams.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. But the other thing I wanted to mention here, Anthony Richardson, obviously around the draft combine, was granted permission, his representation, to seek a trade. Obviously, the interest is nil around the National Football League because no one's come a-calling, and Shane Steichen said he's going to be in a backup battle with Riley Leonard, which is fine. But my thing is these two things work in tandem. Daniel Jones coming off an Achilles tear and Anthony Richardson with very vague in his answers. He's like, look, they thought it was good to have these conversations. That's the resolution. He's washing his hands of this. He's saying my representation said it was smart to seek a trade, and they talked to the Colts and they agreed, and I signed a contract to be here, and I'm going to work my butt off. And he's saying all the right things, but I don't think he wants to be here. I don't think Shane Steichen wants him here. Honestly, the best thing he said about him was he was here and he's working. That's great. He missed a prime opportunity last season, and I know it was a freak accident, to put some tape out there and save. What if this had happened? The Colts are 8-2, and Daniel Jones gets injured, or whatever their record was when he gets injured, and Anthony Richardson comes in and wins 4 games, and they go to the playoffs,
even winning 2 games,
and even winning 2 games, getting in the wild card spot or winning the AFC South. You think the conversation's a whole lot different about Anthony Richardson? I'm not saying he would have been the starter this year. I'm not saying that Daniel Jones wouldn't have gotten paid still. But am I saying someone would have offered up a 3rd-round pick? Maybe.
Something.
Who's to say? But he didn't even give himself that opportunity. It was a freak accident. He's injured all the time. But what if Daniel Jones can't go week 1? That is within the realm of possibility if he can't go week 1.
It absolutely is.
The best thing for Anthony Richardson and the best thing for the Indianapolis Colts is for him to play serviceably good football and maybe win a game or 2. Because then trades start maybe becoming more of a realistic possibility. Because if you go through this season and Anthony Richardson's on your roster and he doesn't play a lick of football and he just leaves your team, and you invested a 4th overall pick in him and get nothing in return, then that is about as huge of indictment on a franchise and a general manager as I've ever seen.
Looking at Anthony Richardson's stats, 2024 had 1,800 yards, 8 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Dom last year, 1 completion for 9 yards. And if you remember, that completion was back to himself.
Oh, my gosh. That is very true. I like Anthony Richardson. And, I think the Colts mishandled this from the beginning. But hindsight's 2020. We were all telling the team to play him right away. Hand up, everybody was. Mm-hmm. Everybody was saying, the best way to cure someone who hasn't played a lot of football, they should play a lot of football. And he just wasn't ready. Gardner Minshew should have started that season because then Anthony Richardson doesn't get hurt. Then he can learn. And then if the team's struggling, then Anthony Richardson's the most popular guy in the city. You come in and you save everything. I think a lot of things are just working against him. And who knows about the work ethic thing? We don't know what goes on behind closed doors. We don't know if he is leaving a lot to be desired in that area. But the fact of the matter is, 2 years ago when he did get a good chance to play coming off his first season in the NFL, it wasn't good.
It was not.
It just wasn't good. And that's unfortunate, but it wasn't. And you can point to the game-winning drives against the Jets, the Patriots, and that's fine. Go fight, win. But those teams were spare parts that season. I think we all know that. I don't know. I hope Anthony Richardson succeeds, and I hope he go. But I think I would say put him on a team with Kevin O'Connell or Sean McVay and see what he can do in a backup role. But I think Shane Steichen is like very close, a tier below those guys.
Absolutely.
And I just don't think it's going to work here, unfortunately. And maybe that's just it. Maybe it won't work anywhere. But I want it to. Like, Anthony Richardson is a good person and clearly talent, and clearly convinced the team to draft him 4th overall.
Yeah.
So
this, I was looking at this right before we started the pod again, and you know who this reminds me a lot of is Malik Willis when he went to the Titans.
Yes.
Had absolutely nothing going for him in Tennessee. Takes a trip up to Green Bay. Backs up Jordan Love for a few years, and now he's going to presumably be the starting quarterback for a Miami Dolphins team that, granted, doesn't have much going for them. But you get paid. I think it was a full year. But he got paid. He got paid, right? Isn't that the biggest thing that you need?
You took the words out of my mouth. Like, he needs to be ready to rock. He needs to take this backup battle so seriously. Absolutely. Because you're telling me two things are going to happen. Actually, there's 3 things with Daniel Jones that could happen. He could play week 1, and he could play every game and have 0 problems. I just don't foresee that happening coming off an Achilles tear and expecting to be ready to rock 9 months post Achilles tear and have 0 problems. Yeah. 0.
Can't happen.
I mean, we saw what happened with Jason Tatum. He didn't rush back. He was ahead of schedule. He was on schedule, and he had some problems because he was overcompensating on the leg and blah, 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 blah. Kirk Cousins wasn't exactly the same. Aaron Rodgers, whatever. Both kind of bad examples because they were both a little older to begin with. But the other thing that could happen is Daniel Jones isn't ready for week 1. Then Anthony Richardson, I need you ready to rock. No questions that you are the next in line. Yeah. And you need to play serviceable football and show us that you've learned something over these past 3 years.
Yeah.
And that you can apply it, and you can be coachable, and you can be a starting quarterback in the National Football League. Or Daniel Jones does play, and then he misses in the middle of the season. Same deal, Anthony Richardson. You need to be ready to rock. Because here's the deal. If Riley Leonard is named the backup, you're done. You're not getting – no one's offering for a trade. And who knows what happens when, the year's over and you're no longer part of the Colts, then, whatever. It doesn't impact us anymore. But it is benefiting for the Colts. It's benefiting for Anthony Richardson if he needs to play and play well. So, and I think that's a realistic possibility.
It is. With
Daniel Jones' current situation. So, I don't know. I just think the Colts are in a weird spot. But we got a chance to hear from both Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. It was just very interesting. It was very interesting. And Shane Steichen seems to think that Daniel Jones is going to be fine on schedule. And Anthony Richardson, he's just happy he's here. Go fight, win. So, last thing I want to mention before we get to Tony East of Locked On Pacers from Adam Schefter. The Bears Board of Directors voted Thursday to advance the stadium development in Hammond, Indiana. Metropolis for sports in the United States. With the exact date, I believe is what meant to say, to be selected. This is the first time that the Bears board has voted on any stadium site.
Yep.
As one source said, there is more work to do, but barring anything very strange, it's a done deal. I still don't think people are accurately understanding this. This is going from Chicago to Hammond.
Insane.
That's crazy. I think Chicago, the city of Chicago, state of Illinois, thought this was just a bluff this whole time because they just can't get their stuff together. Yeah. Like, Chicago is just fumbling all over themselves, babbling all over themselves. The Arlington Heights thing was going to happen, and then it didn't happen, and then there was a renderings for an updated Soldier Field right where it stood, and then Hammond comes into play, and everybody laughs it off. But Mike Braun, credit to the governor and the state of Indiana, got to work, made it happen, took it seriously, and bang, here we are. Not that long later, Chicago must have thought it was a bluff. State of Illinois must have thought it was a bluff. Bears say, you know what?
Here we are.
We're doing it. And actually, I thought the Bears statement was interesting too. Yesterday, the Chicago Bears Board of Directors met and voted to advance our stadium development project in Hammond, Indiana, with the exact site to be selected. That's what it was, site, not date. We believe a world-class stadium project in Hammond will transform the region. You think?
Absolutely.
Connecting Northwest Indiana to the south side of Chicago. Through the loop and across neighborhoods and suburbs stretching north of the city, it will bring Chicagoland together and deliver new opportunities to its residents and businesses. I can't believe it. I don't even know what to say. Like, there's going to be 2 NFL franchises in the state of Indiana.
I don't think anyone has ever even assumed that was a possibility.
Hammond's got to be over the moon,
Yeah.
right? Like, that is absolutely insane. Could you ever imagine an NFL team in the region?
And I mean, what is this going to do for the Bears? You lose. Obviously, there's so many Chicago fans, and granted, there are tons of Chicago Bears fans up in Northwest Indiana. But dude, I mean, just the difference in location between downtown Chicago and the north suburbs of Indiana,
It's insane.
it's going to feel like a neutral site game for a while. I feel
for
like
a while, yeah. I mean, you got to keep the Chicago Bears name. That's
to.
where I draw the line.
Have to.
You can't call it the, Indiana Bears or the Hammond Bears or.
Could you imagine?
I mean,
the
this is
outrage?
one of what 3, 4, 5 historic NFL franchises.
Not even franchises. Soldier Field itself.
Yeah.
Is absolutely historic.
You got the Packers, Bears. I don't know, Cowboys, Chiefs, Steelers. Let's say
sure.
I'm probably missing one in there, but unbelievable. Just the city of Chicago should be embarrassed. Okay, absolutely and utterly embarrassed that this was allowed to happen. All right, that was a long intro, but we had a lot to get to. There's a lot going on, and we didn't even talk about the Indy 500. Happened too long ago, but it's new now. Next here on Get In Sports, we got Tony East coming up. You're gonna want to stick around for this. There's no question about it. Get In Sports. Thanks for listening. Joining us now here in the Get In Sports studio, a man who has a lot of familiarity with the sports scene here in Indianapolis. He covers the Indiana Pacers and Indiana Fever for Locked On Pacers. He's a contributor for Forbes Sports, The 9 Sports, founder of Circle City Spin. You're doing everything. This is Tony East, again, of Locked On Pacers. Tony, I know you do a lot of contributions for WTHR, too, so we get to interact a lot. But how are you doing, man? I mean, you are busy, it feels like, year-round. Pacers, Fever, everything.
We were a lot busier last year.
Yes, that's true.
We're still playing.
June was tough. There's no question about that.
People used to ask me how I cover both, and for a while the answer was like, well, they both stink.
Right.
And now they're both pretty dang good.
Yeah,
So,
so-
this random blip this year was kind of nice.
Right? How long? When did you start Pacers Fever?
I did Pacers since 2017-18.
Okay.
And then Fever was like, it was COVID. And I was like, I'm home.
Right.
You know, I like covering sports. This will be fun. And they were in the bubble, and I did it then. And then I just kept doing it. So
Yeah.
2020 for them, but they were terrible.
I imagine the difference in when you started to
Oh,
now
gosh.
is just
They-
crazy.
I mean, you've probably heard these stories. They played at the State Fair. Because the
Right.
Cambridge was under construction in the summer, and there were still like maybe 1,000 people there, and they won.
word.
They went 5-31. Like, it was
Unreal.
very different.
That is so crazy. All right, so Tony, I mean, before we get into the nitty gritty of Pacers and Fever, because Tony is there every single day. I would argue, and it's not just because he's sitting here, one of the most respected guys on the beat for both these franchises. There's no question about it. He is in the know. You should definitely follow him, Tony R. East, on X. Again, contributor on Locked On Sports. He shows up on WTHR Plus, so he's everywhere and anywhere, and you need to be following him for all things Pacers and Fever. But want to kind of dig in deeper to just how you got into this business, how you got into Indianapolis. I guess I've never really asked you where you're from and your background. So could you tell the people just a little bit about your background, how you got into this, and how you ended up in Indy, covering 2 franchises at crucial points in their history?
Yeah, I got a little lucky. My family moved here when I was pretty young.
Okay.
So from here, basically, we were born in Rockford, so always Midwest.
Nice.
But I was a math major and a public finance major in college.
No way.
Yeah, and
What?
Yeah, I don't remember what actually. I'm giving you too much of an answer for this. I don't remember.
No, I love it.
what
Where did you go to school, though?
IU. I went to IU.
Okay.
I don't
Math
remember what
major.
specifically happened, but I was a Washington Wizards fan as a kid, and the NBA has always been my favorite. And I just felt like at some point I was like, I'm not getting information that I want about the Wizards. And so I just started blogging for their SB Nation site at
Wow.
the time, doing a bunch of like dorky cap stuff. And then I got an environmental science job in Indy out of college. And I was like, and I lived downtown. I was like, oh, the Pacers are right there. Like, I might as well blog about them. They're 10 feet from where I live. And now I'm sitting right here.
That is actually...
the snowball never stopped.
That's unbelievable. So you just were interested in something, you started writing about it and turned it into a full-time situation.
Yeah. And I got lucky to meet people who, Jackie Depp owns a small newspaper and, stuff like that. I mean, everybody has their own little luck things, but, just it never stopped, I guess.
That is so cool. A math major, personal finance guy, is that what you said?
Public finance.
Public
Did I say
finance.
personal?
No, I don't know. It's over my head. I
don't do any of that now.
Oh my word, math. And then an environmental science job.
Yes,
out of college.
I did like chemistry data analysis. Basically.
So when did this become full time?
2022, 23.
Really?
Yeah.
That recent?
Well, I was making about even money doing both for a while, but it was basically almost like 2 full-time jobs.
Are you pumped with how it is transpired and how it's worked out for you? Like the last 3-4 years.
It's a grind, but I got very lucky timing wise that right after it's like Pacers are awesome. Oh, Caitlin Clark's here. It's like, so it's been still fun and fruitful. But
yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about, is Locked On your main driver? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Kind of main focus.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain kind of to those who don't know what Locked On Sports is or Locked On Pacers, how it works, how they can find you, and I guess, I don't know, just like the behind the scenes. I don't know if a lot of people know Locked On Sports, but there's a lot of high-level contributors across the country who contribute for Locked On.
Well, David Locke is the founder, hence the name. He's the radio guy. He's the radio guy for the Jazz. So Pacers people, it's Mark Boyle, but for the Utah Jazz.
Right.
And he founded it because he believed in, one, it was 2016 and podcasts were like becoming a thing at the time. And two, he believed in hyper-localized versions of that because most popular, not what we're doing, but most popular podcasts are more national or more the trending topics kind of thing. But he wanted to make sure if he did that, he had somebody doing every single team. So there's every NFL team has one, a Locked On show, NBA, NHL, MLB, and most Power 5 colleges. We just got Purdue in, actually, which is exciting. So I thought that was cool. I'm better at yapping than writing, even though I like writing more.
You're very good at talking, I must say.
So I was attracted to that at first, and I thought I was going to do it about the Wizards, but then I wasn't around them ever. And, once you kind of start covering stuff, you're like, I can't do like the team I was a fan of. It's impossible, right? So I got lucky to be able to do it at first because the other person who I started Locked On Pacers with was a college student who couldn't do it every day. And then, again, a snowball from it. It just never stopped.
I love that. I just love you wanted to do something, so you did it. And now here you are. I did not know that about you. I still hung up on the math and finance and environmental
That's
science
why I like
background.
all like the salary cap dorky stuff that everybody else thinks is super complicated. I'm like, this is fun.
But you when you talk about it, it's very digestible. Like I do go to your profile for stuff like that because it's very easily understandable.
That's the hope, man.
Good stuff on you. What's the biggest thing? What is the biggest, craziest moment, I guess, or like surreal moment over covering both these teams the last 4 years that you can actually talk about? I know there's a lot of stuff like behind the scenes that you probably can't talk about, but what is something that you're like, I'm never gonna forget that?
Yeah, I mean, just the finals in general has to be on the list, right? Like you always think about going to big events like that, and I'm not a huge football guy, but I'd imagine the Super Bowl feels the same way. You're like, oh my gosh, like I'm at the finals. And of course it goes to 7 games. Like NBA Finals Game 7s are once every not that often of years, right? And of course it was a crushing game. Like I pre-wrote a story for a Pacers win and a Pacers loss.
Nice.
And then he tears his Achilles and they are completely irrelevant immediately. So I had to redo everything, which is to be totally fine. But that's a seminal moment in your life. Like you're at the biggest sporting event of the year 7 times and it's just, the team you cover happens to be there. So it's really cool and localized and you're not part of the story, obviously, but you've been around the team the whole year, so it feels like you just like know all the people who are involved in the story pretty well. That was really cool, and honestly, the for me personally, the 2023 to 24 jump for the Fever felt not the same, obviously, but seeing it go from no one cares, that's harsh, but very not popular thing, to whole like they're sold out every night, and
Unreal.
It's like the center of the sports universe a lot of the time in the summer. Was just awesome. And I had a lot of fun talking to team staffers and players like every day. Just like, can you believe this? Like basically that was really cool too. I would say those are the things, but just one moments. I mean, all the Halliburton shots are just, I was at all of them. It's so lucky. Like Unforgettable.
There's one thing about covering a team through the playoffs, they get to the NBA Finals, but how the Pacers did it. And Tony's a humble guy, but he was covering the team every single day. And I remember vividly after the game 6 Pacers win over the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, Tyrese Halliburton made a point to mention you and said, Tony was covering us when we were 10 and 15, and Dustin, yes, of course. But it's just really cool. So no, we're not part of it, okay? But we are because
they know.
Yeah. And like it's just really cool when someone gets that respect from the Pacers.
He did that in Cleveland too when he hit the second game winner of the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
He's like, oh, now we're winning. Everybody wants to be here.
Yeah.
Tony and Dustin were the only ones here last time we were in Cleveland. It was
Man,
funny.
I mean, that I will never forget that finals run. And I think it was game 1 just in Oklahoma City. I mean, you hear that place is Loud City and that it's really loud in there and that the fans are awesome, but that was jaw-dropping.
Oh, yeah. The
pregame stuff, all in sync. Everybody's in their seats like 30-plus minutes before the game. That was the loudest basketball environment I think I've ever been in. I don't know if it was one of the games. You could argue game 1, game 7, whatever. I don't know. It was crazy to me.
A bunch of people here complained. They were like, oh, it only was loud because of the boomsticks. I'm like, no. Like they were.
The boomsticks were crazy.
They helped add to it. Certainly, it was very loud. And they do this thing where you were there 4 times or whatever. They play Titanium when the game is closed in the fourth quarter, and everybody sings.
Yes.
And they put the lyrics, and it's like, whoa, like I'm at a concert. It's crazy.
I've never been in an environment where I really felt earplugs were necessary.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it was 100%. Like that was a chills. I can't believe the Pacers won game 1, actually, going into that environment for the first time. That whole series was crazy.
We're talking on the anniversary of it, which I only
say that because
I guess
you're right.
I say that because the Pacers posted a video of like the comeback, and I forgot how much down they were in the fourth quarter. Like I was there. I know it happened, but I'm like, they came back from that much? Like, and they did it a lot.
I have my notes from each of those games saved because it's just cool to look back on. Like you write like different trends in the game. Like they were down 18 and Tyrese goes off. You did mention obviously the torn Achilles, and I think hindsight's 2020 and like revisionist history or whatever. But looking back, I don't know if people accurately understood the change that made, at least in this last year of the NBA, and like then we see what happens with the lottery. I guess looking back on that, what do you think is truly the outcome? Are we not going to know a full circle? Okay, this was cause, this was effect until we see him play again, and we know he's okay. And if the Pacers are truly better, say in 2026, 2027 than they were in 2024, 2025,
they're clearly betting on him being at least as good, right? That's maybe not the biggest story. Maybe I interpreted that as that. But when we talked to him at his exit interview, I was like, how good do you think you're going to be?
Right.
Because if you're not, what are they? What
are we doing?
What do they do?
Yeah.
I'm not saying they shouldn't try, but like they're going to be worse by default. So they're clearly expecting him to be at least very good. Or you don't trade 2 firsts for Zubac before you get to that lottery point, of course. And they'll even if he's, pick your number, 80% or better than what he used to, 80% to 100% of what he used to be, they'll still be pretty good,
solid.
But if he's not at 100, it's what level is it? And they lose the pick, and maybe Zubac is awesome, it'll be fine. I'm a believer in that trade generally, but he certainly has some fit questions to figure out. It's just very much of sliding doors. 12 months, yes.
And I think there's levels to what fans perceive as this is okay. This is the standard. I mean, like seeing the East this postseason has to be the most frustrating, infuriating thing. Seeing the Knicks then win game 1 of the NBA Finals at the time of this recording, I'm sitting there, I'm like, there's no way the Knicks are winning. Like, there's no way. Like, I have to, in my mind, believe that if Tyrese Halliburton never gets hurt, do they win game 7? That's just like the biggest what if ever. But are they right back in this position again? Yeah. What's saying no, that's not the case?
They traded for OG Anunoby in 2023. Yeah. And since then, only the Pacers have beaten them in the playoffs in a series. I think that's crazy. And
that is so true.
Yeah. And, I mean, maybe the Spurs will beat them, but I could say only East team if that happens, whatever. It's still. The other thing is that I always say to people, every Tyrese Halliburton series he's finished healthy, the Pacers have won the series.
That's crazy.
Every single one, right? So, especially this year where it's like, the Cavs, really? Like
that's what I mean.
They weren't bad.
And like the Pistons won 60 games.
They almost lost the first round. Yeah, the East was rough. The Knicks are legitimately, as they showed in game 1, they're legitimately very good. Like they would not have been easy to beat, but the rest of the conference was like, okay, they would have handle them.
I mean, you're watching
suppose.
Oklahoma City, San Antonio, and then you're watching Cleveland, New York, and it's like, what are we talking
Maybe
about?
the Knicks are just awesome, right? They have a lot of destiny on their side, it appears right now. But yeah, it's certainly. I mean, at least they would have made the conference finals again. And 3 years in a row of that is like, like for many NBA teams, the best stretch in franchise history.
I have a high level of confidence saying they 100% would have gone to 6-7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals, bare minimum, right? Like, what's stopping anyone from believing that? So that's why the injury obviously hurts. But yeah, we did mention the trade and the Zubac situation, and I feel as if it's in a position now where Zubac needs to be. The pressure has ramped up for him to be really good, because if you get him and a top 4 pick, solid. Love the tandem. Some greater than whole's greater than the sum of its parts, whatever. But now that pick, and I'm not saying DeBansa or Wilson or Boozer or Peterson or Acuff would have been an all-NBA player rookie season.
Right.
It would have been a humongous contributor for the Pacers to go to the finals. I'm not saying that, but you make your team younger, you make it more talented, you have a star in waiting once Siakam kind of phases out. You no longer have that. What do you think now? It's been a couple weeks since that all transpired. I mean, this is how this trade will be judged now. A lot of people are saying overpay. Kevin Pritchard says, worth the risk. I mean, you were there, correct? So I don't know. What do you think of this whole thing?
Well, the pressure on Zubac is certainly higher, and it didn't help that Pritchard said, "I'm sorry."
Yeah,
I was like,
that's admitting guilt, admitting defeat.
Well,
but I appreciate it at the same time.
Understood intent. I think if he had said, like, "I understand why fans are disappointed," you don't point at Zubac with that in the way that "I'm sorry" does, if that makes sense. Yeah, 'cause it almost feels like, I don't know. So I don't know if he even cares. Obviously, I haven't talked to him since the season ended. He just had a new kid. Who cares? All about that. But yeah, there's a lot of pressure for him to be good and plug the holes that they expect him to on the glass and on defense and things like that. And he was very good at those things for the Clippers. And the Clippers upped their tempo the last couple seasons, and he fit with them. But now he's got to do it for this team that hopes they can win a lot. And he's made the conference finals before, but never more. So there is a lot of pressure on him. And yeah, it's, I always wonder with judging front office people, like, I thought the trade value was fair at the time. I actually predicted the day before that's if they traded for Zubac, pretty much exactly what it would take. But this is a results-based business.
Correct.
And the result now is they traded the highest possible pick that they could have traded this year. Now we'll see what happens in 2031. Maybe they're just so awful that it works out that they keep that pick or something. And they can't have traded one of the top 4 guys. I think that is hard for people to think about in the moment because they lost one of them, because they won't pick them. But the Clippers cannot pick DeBansa or Peterson or Boozer.
Correct.
Which does help a little bit. But
that was the whole point why that was unprotected to begin with.
Yes.
I mean, right?
Yeah, I would imagine 4, they were like, if you go to 3, we're not doing it. Like, there's just no way.
No.
So it still hurts, obviously. It's the worst case scenario, which forces him to produce. And I think the results will matter. Like, if Zubac is good, people will forget. If the 5th pick stinks, people will forget. If the Clippers get stripped of some picks and some scandal and they're never any good, people might forget, because people judge it on the results. But the results right this second of us talking are literally the worst case scenario given the protections on the pick.
Yeah, it's just really disappointing, because I don't think anybody seriously considered this to be a possibility, that the lottery would fall 5 through 9 and the Pacers would not have that pick. I think it would have been fine 4, 3, 2, 1, obviously. But and even 10, at least you have a pick.
It is
right.
Being at the lottery is so weird because everybody thinks they're going to win.
Yeah,
like,
right.
These people are the smartest people in the world at basketball and team building and management, and they've gotten this job from years of problem solving and experience. And there's something intoxicating about a 10% chance to these people. Like, they all think it's going to happen, and I'm like, it just so I can't even explain it.
How can you predict chance?
I know,
it's just impossible.
It's just a feeling.
Yeah.
Because everything else in sports, you can't control everything, but you could try.
Yeah.
Like, they tried to give themselves the best odds. You try to maximize every little advantage, and then you get to the lottery and you're like, okay, we did everything we could. It's gonna work out. Yeah. And for almost every team, it doesn't. That's the whole point.
Well, two of the 3 teams with the best odds to get number 1 got 5 through 9.
Right.
It's just I don't know how you explain that away. And I think everyone in Pacers Nation was like, okay, especially once everyone's hurt at the start of the season and they were 3-22, 6-22, something like that. It's like, all right, we're okay with tanking. We're going to get a top. This is going to be the worst we ever are. And I think that's the risk involved in including that pick in a trade, albeit protected 1 through 4. It's like, when are you ever going to be this bad again? When's the draft going to be this good ever again?
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. I see both sides, but look on its face now, 2 firsts, Benedict Mathurin, Isaiah Jackson for Zubac and Kobe Brown going to the Clippers. It's
right.
like, Okay, well, we'll move on here to the Indiana Fever. But I am interested to see, and I think everybody is pumped up. Or just like they need to know proof of concept. Can the Pacers be a 50-win team? And I mean, they showed, look, as long as you're like seeded 1 through 4, you can,
right.
It's fine. The regular season matters, but it doesn't really. And they can beat the Cavs, they can beat the Pistons, they can beat the Knicks. And I mean, the Celtics are kind of like, all right, what's Tatum's situation? But
we just saw
if they don't make the finals, it's like, was this net positive? I think that's got to be the feeling,
that's such a high bar.
It's such a high bar, and it's unfair. But they got a taste. The East is quote unquote weak, I would say. Anyway,
it's weird because it was just 4 versus 3 in the East Finals.
Yeah,
the 8 seed almost won a series.
Yeah,
the 5 seed almost won a series. So in some ways, that makes you think maybe the East is a little better than we're giving credit for. On the other hand, it's like if anybody can beat anybody, their seed is not that important. Like get in the field. And the last 2 years, when they were the 6th seed and they made the conference finals 2 years ago, like just make it.
Yeah,
and they know what they can do with that.
Get in the field, host the first round, maybe.
Yeah,
and hopefully by April and May, Zubac and Tyrese pick and roll is just awesome.
Yes,
and
exactly.
That's what I'd rather. And
that dude's gonna level some guys on some screens.
Let the chips fall where they may. All right, let's talk Fever here. Okay, interesting start to the season. No question about it. Obviously, we're coming off Caitlin Clark injuries, summer, a lot of talk. She's going into year 3, year 4.
Her 3rd season.
This is her 3rd season. Yeah, year 3, and now the talk is kind of like, all right, you guys need to win. We need to win games. Win at WNBA finals. I mean, the Fever were a game away. That was an awesome game in Las Vegas. I mean, they're playing with spare parts.
Me and you.
I mean, honestly, Kelsey Mitchell goes down and they still almost win that game. It was pretty awesome. And I think it speaks volumes about Stephanie White and how well she is, how much this franchise means to her and how easily adaptable she can just adapt to any situation, I think. And she brings a lot of fire. What do you make of this start? I mean, on floor play is one thing, and I think they're kind of like this, but man, when they are clicking, it's so much fun to watch. When Kelsey Mitchell is just a microwave, when Aaliyah Boston, who's like making consistent threes now, by the way, really impressive improvement, and when Caitlin Clark's moving the ball, it's really awesome to see. A lot of off-court stuff. I am of the opinion, Tony, that, and I forget who wrote this. His first name is Robin Lundgaard, maybe, or something like that.
Lundenberg, yeah.
What was it?
Lundenberg.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. Everyone needs to be a little bit more normal about Caitlin Clark. Could not agree more. Not everything's a story. I think there's some truth to everything. I think everything's in the middle. But what do you make just of this first 9-10 game stretch off the floor? I mean, again, you're there every day.
Normal things that happen to popular players do become a bigger deal.
Yes.
But they shouldn't become abnormal, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
Her getting in a spat on the bench is probably worth asking about, but I don't think I've seen that in sports all the time.
All the time, right?
I covered the Pacers in a year where there was such a big bench spat between Greg Foster and Goga Batadze that they suspended the assistant coach. Like, to me, that is the bar to be like, this is a concern.
All right, maybe that went too far.
Yes, yeah, right. So I was like, okay, I have no opinion of this, but I'll ask, right? And the back thing is like, players will hit scratches in sports, but it's her.
It happens.
So you ask, but that should be it. But then everything, like you're saying, just gets so weird.
It gets weird.
Huge. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what? I feel almost bad. People speak for her so much, and now I'm about to do it. But that's what makes it. That's just what makes it so weird. And I think what frustrates her so much.
And I totally understand both her and Stephanie White's frustrations following the spat on the bench. Because first of all, if it was like Lexi Hull that happened to, not a problem. If it was Leah Boston, not a problem. Also, what's Stephanie White supposed to do in that situation? Like,
they were getting whooped.
Yeah. She was getting beat on the defensive side of the ball. Is she just supposed to let her, I don't know, show her up in the huddle? I don't know. I think that's a plus coach move, and I think Caitlin handled it great. And I think they probably settled it 10 minutes after the game. Not even. I think it was over before that, after that huddle ended.
Yes.
And that's just sport. And I really appreciated the way they both answered the questions. And they were both clearly frustrated that they had to be there answering to that. But it's like the Indianapolis media is in such a tough spot because you have Skip Bayless and you have ESPN and you have The Athletic and you have not James Boyd. James Boyd's the man, but you have everybody like commenting, and then the first media they see is the Indianapolis media, and I'm like, look, your problem's not with NBC Indianapolis, okay? But I understand you're frustrated because this is the microphone that everybody's going to use. So it's just like a delicate balance, and I cannot imagine being Caitlin Clark.
No,
I
don't know her, so I get
right,
it.
yeah.
But she just seems like a normal person.
She is.
Who just happens to be extremely famous.
Yes.
Which is hard. It's hard.
Every single stat line is either she's going to break all these records or it's an indictment on her entire career. Right?
Yeah.
And then off the floor, it's like, oh, she did this. Now we have to talk about it. And I understand it's the summer. And I understand it's Caitlin Clark. And it's like the LeBron James. And I understand all of it. But I think we need to chill. I think everybody needs to chill.
She said it last night, basically.
Yeah.
She was, somebody asked her, what can a game like this where it's a normal, complete performance? She's like, I hope people just kind of chill.
Be quiet.
Yeah,
like,
yes, basically.
Just
I'm
cover.
Paraphrasing.
And it feels like and I mean, you can speak to this too. The increase from, what was it, 23 to 24, just the coverage of not only the Fever, not only Caitlin Clark, but the WNBA at large. I feel like it just caught a lot of people off guard. I think it caught PR teams off guard. It caught teams off guard. It caught media off guard. I think we all needed to adjust to this. And sometimes it feels like we're still working out the kinks of that. Do you kind of feel that?
It was not like you can practice.
Gradual.
Yeah, it just was like, whoop, just straight up. And I wasn't ready for it. I mean, I knew it was coming. Like, I was at the day that they won the lottery for that draft. And
right.
The day that she declared that she was going pro, my phone starts blowing up. And I'm like, did Tyrese get hurt?
Yeah.
Like, what happened? And okay, interesting. It was a leap day. I remember.
It
being
Tyrese's birthday.
Yeah, ironically, yes. So I should have known right then by the volume of how there's discussion. I was like, oh, this should have been bigger. But yeah, it happened so fast. And something feels different this year to me, and how weird is the wrong word. That sounds harsh, but just like,
I mean, it is kind of. That's how I feel. I saw the clip of Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark and thought, okay, that's interesting. And then Sunday came, and it's like, okay, so this is definitely going to be a story, and it just doesn't need to be. I don't think.
That happens.
Yeah,
that happens in sports. Like, people smash clipboards at their coaches and get mad at, like, all the time. I don't know.
Right.
I think that game was very frustrating for them in a way that spilled over too much. But like, Brittany Griner got ruled out with a late scratch the same day.
Yeah,
Caitlin did. Like, that's a thing that happens.
Right.
It's not.
What's she supposed to do if she steps out of her vehicle and twists her ankle?
That's why.
Are we all supposed to freak out that she scratched?
I don't mean to critique anyone who said the Fever should get fined, but I'm like, what is the WNBA's point where they're like, there's a time of day where you can't get hurt.
Right.
You're not on the injury report.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You
get a stomach bug.
Yeah.
You better play through.
Yeah, right. Like, you weren't on the report. So I get that she said she woke up with it, so maybe the lag time was enough. But it's like, who are they to be like, this is the time of day where you have to have
So
it
I
determined?
Appreciate that it was a warning in that situation.
Yes.
Like, I think cooler heads prevail. It's
Thank you.
Okay. And I understand the disappointment of fans, and people probably went there and they're like, "Oh,
sucks,
man! I paid and it's like, Caitlin, it's because people want to see you play. They think you're awesome, and they love watching you play. So it's not like a negative thing. But then people get really bent out of shape, like, this is ridiculous. She owes it to us. I'm like, that's where it kind of gets hairy. But it is entertainment, and she is a superstar, and objectively amazing to watch play the game of basketball. So I think that's where the frustration lies. She's also a human being. Like, my back hurt getting out of bed this morning. Like, I'm not going to play a basketball game tonight. Right. You know what I mean? Like, it's just really interesting.
I'm paying less money now to watch you play, now that I know that.
No, you're paying less. You're boycotting the rest of my games from here on out. Okay. I mean, just last thing, like, this does feel like a consequential season for the Fever. And it's early. Like, it's year 3 for Caitlin Clark. Okay. But Kelsey's on a 1-year deal. Is that correct?
Yep.
So is Sophie. Kelsey has been awesome. Every time I watch Aaliyah Boston play, she gets better. It's just so cool to see. I think Lexi and Sophie are awesome off the bench. I think the miscellaneous players are really good as well. And obviously, Caitlin, she goes through hot and cold streaks, but she's still a superstar. Feels like it's wide open. It's early on. We're 9-10 games through, but what do you think? I mean, it feels like they're kind of still figuring themselves out, but that's a good team you just beat at the Atlanta Dream.
That was their best win of the season, I think. And they were ahead comfortably for the last 15 minutes, which was, impressive.
Yeah.
It's weird because of how last year ended with such an impressive run that, it's like, well, if they have all the health, it's almost like the finals should be almost an expectation, which is unfair completely. And it's been weird.
It's what we do.
Yeah, I know. It's whoops. It's weird that this year is playing out the way it is because the Minnesota, I promise this is fever related. The Minnesota Lynx look awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else, I'm like, you look a little worse than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that people have talked about how much the no CBA offseason has played into that because if you're a player, you're like, I can get a bag. So I'm not going to work out and get hurt. I'm not saying that anybody was like lazy, but
I think intelligence a way to put
and
it.
A team can't do off-season stuff. They don't know who's on the team. Everybody was a free agent. Everybody was a free agent, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how much the quality of every team was impacted by that and how much it's like we're going to forget about how teams look the first 10 games when the season's over. That's a theory. I don't know that that's a true thing. Some people have talked about it, though.
I think that's right on the money.
Yeah. So I'm not giving the Fever like a pass, but also 3 of their 4 losses, they had a shot to win at the buzzer.
Right.
Like they should be beating the Mystics, but like they're right there to being 7-2 right now. The Portland game was a disaster. They were horrible, but it's almost like I don't know how to feel yet. It's like, okay, it's early. They've had 3 really close losses. Most of the time, they've looked close to the team I kind of thought they'd be. But it is a huge year for the reasons you're saying. They have these massive expectations, and the hope is that they can meet them with their 3 stars. Because if they can't, what is next?
Then the conversation gets loud about the on-court.
Is it a different 3rd star? Is it different role players? Is it a different play style? What is it actually going to take? Because this is the other thing, I think. You can't say this. I just said this to the Pacers. It's all results based, right?
Yeah.
They were losing with like 90 seconds to go against the Dream in round 1. Like they were, we when we talk about the Fever last year, we all say, "Oh my gosh, they were an overtime away from the finals." It's like they were also 90 seconds away from losing in the first round. It's like the W playoffs were pretty short, so the margins on your expectations change quite a bit. So it's hard to perfectly contextualize where they should be, I think.
Right.
But their top 3 are so good that they deserve lofty expectations, and they have been just pretty good so far.
I think that's a great way of putting it. I mean, I think Aaliyah Boston's one of the best forwards in the WNBA. I mean, her finishing ability, and now she's splashing home maybe 2 threes a game. Like, give me that all day.
Yeah.
Kelsey Mitchell, like 3rd quarter last night, unreal. She can do that just at the drop of the hat. And like the way that the ball moves with Caitlin Clark on the floor, I mean, feels like she's just been a little cold, but when she gets going, it's just unreal to watch. And I just think Lexi and Sophie do such a good job keeping the ball moving as well. But yeah, of course you deserve lofty expectations. The 3 I just Kelsey Mitchell is like MVP borderline, and Aaliyah Boston.
What, she finished 4th last year?
Yeah,
I think.
And she absolutely could have won. And she just, I love her so much. She just goes about her business, absolute stud, just scores at will. And I think Stephanie White's the coach to do it. So, yes, you deserve the lofty expectations, but there are good teams. I mean, the Aces, the Liberty. I think the Dream are for real.
I agree.
We'll see, but I know I'm excited to watch. I don't think like a second round or semifinals exit is a referendum on everything and you need to blow it up. But I do think, a finals appearance needs to happen here in this year or next year. I think that's that's the expectation the moment you draft Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
Right?
What I don't remember the exact stats, so I apologize, but I believe that every team that's had consecutive first overall picks has either made the finals or won in the W.
I would believe it.
Aces had several with Jackie and Asia and KP and
Liberty, maybe?
No, Sabrina and Stewie were not consecutive. The other one that's famous is Sue Bird and Lauren Jackson.
Yes.
With the Storm.
Yes.
I'm missing one other one, but then now also the Wings with AZ and Paige. So immediately, like the second they draft Caitlin, the expectation is like, well, every other team has done it. So yes, but Caitlin also hasn't won a series yet. I'm not saying that as an indictment against her as a rookie. No. She should not have been expected to. She literally didn't play last year, but like, let's see it. Let's see the Fever if they can get there healthy in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's all about health, and I think I wouldn't call it the honeymoon period, but there's this awe factor of the first 2 years of Caitlin Clark, like shiny new toy, one of the most hyped up players ever, LeBron James type hype. Yeah. She makes deep threes. She's fun to watch behind the back. It's unbelievable. And now it's like, all right, let's start winning. Now it's you're on the clock, just like LeBron and like Michael Jordan. Like, all right, when you win in finals now, and I think it's going to be fascinating to watch. I'm excited about it. Tony, what else you got going on that I haven't mentioned here? It's going to be a busy summer.
Yeah, hilarious time for the Pacers. They are doing pre-draft workouts for a draft they don't
Have a pick
in.
Really interesting.
It was weird having to ask a prospect like about that because I don't know this person, and I'm gonna be like, you're aware like that they don't.
Do you think that's why Braden Smith has said?
I don't know what's up with that.
For those who don't know, Braden Smith was supposed to work out for the Pacers, and there could be a number of reasons. I'm not saying it's Braden Smith's fault; it could be whatever. But I do find that interesting. They don't. This is all undrafted talk, right? I mean,
he'll get picked. He's
for sure. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't want to speculate, but yeah, he would have been the best player mock draft day that would have come so far. You know, like Emmanuel Sharp's the guy I asked that too that I just mentioned. Like he's like 45th to 50th on a lot of these. Yeah, you know, it's kind of weird. I'm like, am I going to be talking to you in Noblesville? Like, am I ever going to see you again at all? It's just different versus other years where it's more clear who the kind of the range could be.
Yeah.
And the Fever are always something. But
it's gonna be fun.
Hey, All Star is in Chicago, so I can easily
I'll be there.
jog up there. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Summer League will be probably the worst Pacers Summer League team I've ever covered in person. But then it'll be fun again. Tyrese will play.
You're gonna make it fun, Tony. That is Tony East of Locked On Pacers. Seriously, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
That was some high level stuff right there, mainly from Tony.
This is
not from me. Is Tony short for Anthony?
It is.
All right. I didn't think you were an Antonio. My brother's name's Tony. Anyway, fun talk here. Tony East, Locked On Pacers. Follow him, Tony R. East. That's correct, right? Tony R. East on X. He's a contributor on WTHR streaming app, Forbes Sports, Circle City Spin, the 9 Sports, everywhere. That's really awesome. Tony East, Locked On Pacers. This is Get In Sports. We'll be right back. Tony East, absolutely phenomenal. Seriously need to go give him a follow. He is so impressive, and it's so clear to me that he is one of the guys that the Pacers players, staff, Fever players, staff, front office really, really respect. I know maybe a lot of people aren't as familiar with him as they are the athletic guys or the Indy Star guys or the TV people, but Tony East is phenomenal at what he does and really, really plugged in. He's at every single Pacers and Fever event that there is, so really appreciate him coming on. We're going to try and get a lot of media personnel on Get In Sports here because I know Indianapolis and Indiana really like their media people, like Stephen Holder, like Kevin Bowen, like Joel Erickson, like Greg Rakestraw, like Chris Tenary, Matt Taylor, to name a few. I want to write Matt Taylor down right now. And they're really nice people. I've had an absolutely phenomenal time getting to know them over my time in Indianapolis, and I think you would also like to get to know them. But all right, let's put that to bed. And Will Duncan, producer extraordinaire, let's do a segment that will be recurring here on Get In Sports. In and Out.
Let's go. Okay, so for this week of In and Out, we are going to go all Fever and all Colts. Now that we just finished Tony's segment, I will give you the Fever question first. So my first take on In and Out. The Fever should be worried about their shaky start to the beginning of the season.
I am out on that take. It is so early on in the season, and we just saw the Fever put together their best performance of the season, a complete team performance, beating the Atlanta Dream, who came into the game 7-2. The Fever just 5-4 through 10 games or 9 games this season. They're going to get better and better. It was a bit of a slow start, sure. A lot of drama outside the basketball court, sure. Fever are going to be just fine. I'm out on that take.
Okay. Now we're going to transition over to the Indianapolis Colts. My first take for them, Daniel Jones will be coming back from his Achilles better than he was before the injury.
I am out on that take. I don't know. That is a lofty goal to put on yourself. Now, getting paid $50 million will certainly make that Achilles feel a whole lot better, I have to imagine. But to suggest he had a really good season a year ago. I don't know if he can surpass that. He needs to for a lot of people in the Colts organization to keep their jobs, but I think that's really lofty for a guy that's going to be 7, 8, 9 months post-Achilles tear. I'm out on that take.
Okay, final one. We're going to stick with Colts quarterbacks. Our buddy Anthony Richardson, he will start as a member of the Colts at the beginning of the regular season.
I'm in on that. He's definitely going to be on the Colts because I just don't see very much trade interest right now across the National Football League for Anthony Richardson's services. I don't think he's just going to start on the roster for the Colts. I think he's going to play this season, whether it be the beginning of the season, middle of the season, end of the season. He is going to be on the football field. I just don't know if Daniel Jones can make it 17 games post-Achilles tear. I am in on that take. Anthony Richardson on the Colts.
There we go. In and out for the week.
Okay, in and out for the week. That felt really good. Indy 500, Will, is your first one?
It was.
Okay, how did it go? I know we're a couple weeks post Indy 500, but that was the most electric thing ever.
It's finally let me sit back and actually realize what's happened. So I honestly hadn't been too intapped to Indy 500. I know, as an Indianapolis native, I should be. But
that's all right.
Yeah, until I got this internship with you guys, I was kind of out, learned a few things from the pods that I recorded, and I mean, I really couldn't have a better first experience. I mean, closest finish ever is just nuts.
It was unreal.
Yeah, but even being just in the atmosphere of the 500, I mean, genuinely, there is almost nothing like it. I mean, the pre-race festivities, all the fans. I mean, what a spectacle for people watching too. You cannot beat that.
A+ day for people watching.
So the get in guys were in turn 3, which is the ultimate scenes to be specific. But I mean, what a unique perspective on it, and it is genuinely something that I will continue to keep up with. And like I said, you just can't beat it. Genuinely.
You can't. I went to the Indy 500, I want to say 3 years in a row, during college, maybe, or just after college. I kind of forget the timeline there. And I enjoyed it. We would always be in turn 3. We'd have a great time. Spangle was there. It was a good time. Went with my brothers. But I don't know if I grasped the importance of it to Indiana and Indianapolis and the history of it. I mean, to me, I'm 100% biased. So you can take this with a grain of salt. But Indy 500 beats Kentucky Derby 10 times out of 10. Just with Kentucky Derby's 90 seconds. I understand there's races or whatever throughout the day, and it's an event and you get all dressed up and blah, 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 blah. I'm sure the Kentucky Derby is great. I'd love to go one day. But Indianapolis 500, the buzz the night before,
oh my gosh,
the morning of, and then the duration of the race is, I cannot put words on it. It is unbelievable. And I've been blessed enough in my position to be there. I get there at 5 a.m. every race day, at least I have the last 4 years, and beat the traffic, get to see the cannons go off, have a nice hearty breakfast. Then I get to go interview drivers in the garage for our 7-hour show on WTHR. And yeah, I can't put it to words. I mean, we also thought the rain was going to play a factor, and it kind of did, but actually, all things considered, it was totally fine. Red flag for 13 minutes. That was not a big deal. And then, some yellows while I was sprinkling, but the last 40 laps totally made up for it. It was electric racing down the stretch, and different strategies came into play. And Felix Rosenqvist, man, couldn't have happened to a better guy. I was watching the victory celebration after the day after the race, and every driver said how happy they were that he won it. And they meant it. You could tell they meant it. He is a great guy. He had his first child, a beautiful baby girl named Stella, with his wife Emile, on May 4th. 20 days later, wins the Indianapolis 500. I mean, actually unbelievable. And Meyer Shank Racing, congratulations to them. Small team, the little team that could. They don't want to hear that they were the little team, not a favorite. Felix Rosenqvist was fast all month and did a phenomenal job. To stay on the outside like that with your teammate, oh, by the way, for an entire lap, takes stones of steel. I think Scott Dixon said Swedish meatballs. It was hilarious. Unbelievable by Felix Rosenqvist. Closest finish ever. 0.023 seconds, something like that.
Sounds like right.
I mean, you just can't script it any better than that. Obviously, heart goes out to David Malukas, but he'll be back. I mean, he's going to have his chance to win. The field is so stinking deep. What a month of May. I had to mention it here at the back half of the show because it was so awesome. I loved it. I was out there pretty much every day doing what I do, but I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
It was phenomenal. I mean, good stuff. Okay, well, that's going to basically wrap it up here for Get In Sports, episode 2 out of a trillion, billion, forever, infinity coming up here. I am so pumped to be doing this. This is kind of like we had our unofficial, launch with Dave Calabro, that podcast that was supposed to go out in the month of May. We were supposed to have a lot more stuff come out in the month of May, but unfortunately just didn't transpire that way. But I'm so pumped to be a part of this and really, really appreciate Nate Spangle for coming to me with this idea and wanting to grow, get in sports brand and that kind of arm of what Spangle is doing. He is unbelievable at what he does. And I think all of you watching know that and listening know that. But really appreciate WTHR too for letting me do that. We had to kind of just get some verbiage down to be able to let me do this, but I really do appreciate that. It was very, very kind because I wanted to flex this creative outlet for a super long time. So this is an awesome, awesome thing. And we're looking forward to having some fun with you this summer and into the fall, into football season, doing a lot of fun stuff with high school football, with college football, with pro football, and obviously the Fever and Pacers and everything in between. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I really, really can't wait. But this summer is going to be huge for us. So please watch, listen, subscribe, follow, retweet, share, the whole 9 yards. We really do appreciate it, and I'm very excited to do this.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Will Duncan, producer, he signs off on it, so it's a lot of fun. This is Get In Sports. I'm Dominic Miranda. We'll see you next time.